Thank you and welcome everyone. I've started the recording for this event. Thank you for joining our AARP New Hampshire webinar with the Creative Feast. My name is Frances Donahue and I am your host today. I'm also a volunteer with AARP New Hampshire. The recording for today's virtual event will be available in a few days at www.youtube.com/AARPNH1. If you have a question, please put it in the chat. We welcome your questions and Liz will address them periodically throughout this demonstration. Today, Liz will be showing us recipes for a delicious holiday brunch with high protein pancakes and poached eggs hollandaise. This recipe can be found at cook-along classes, Liz Barber's Creative Feast at thecreativefeast.com. This event is part of a series with the Creative Feast, which focuses on food and its impact on healthy living. AARP has been promoting the health and well-being of older Americans for over 60 years. In New Hampshire, AARP works to bring you informative, innovative, and fun virtual events like today's online cook-along demonstration as a means of connection and inclusion. AARP has numerous free healthy living resources on its website, which includes staying fit, wellness, and longevity. Information on healthy eating as well as staying sharp. There's something for everyone. We'll put the link in the chat. Chef Liz built her cooking career in various Boston catering and restaurant venues. After starting her family, she re-entered the food world as a cooking instructor and developed Liz Barber's Creative Feast. Chef Liz has appeared on New Hampshire's WMUR Cook's Corner. Her cooking demonstrations and recipes in herb gardens have been featured in various publications, including We're Women Cook, New Hampshire Magazine, Nashua Telegraph, and the Hippo. And if you didn't hear earlier, she's in New Hampshire's Magazine this month. All her programs focus on the premise that we are healthier when we cook at home. We hope you enjoy today's program. All right, Liz, show us what you got.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Frances, and thank you everybody for joining me today. I'm delighted to be here with you from Hollis, New Hampshire in my demonstration kitchen studio. And we are going to be, with the holidays coming, there's a lot of meals to prepare for. And, you know, one of our favorite meals is that Christmas brunch. So I wanted to share a couple of recipes with you that a lot of people stray away from because, you know, hollandaise sauce sounds so complicated. It's such an elegant sauce, but the fact is that it's got so few ingredients. And the method that I'm going to show you is super easy and you will have success with it every time. So that's great. And then, of course, the protein pancakes, they're an option over an English muffin, for example. There's no sweetener in them. So pancakes can be any kind of a base for any kind of a recipe that calls for stacking things on it. So, for example, a little pancake is what a bellini is, right? So that is what you might put sour cream, caviar, maybe some smoked salmon. So we're going to do that, and we're going to put our poached eggs with hollandaise on it. And then, of course, poached eggs, for some people, it's another one of those, oh, what if I break them? How do I get them in the water? How do I get them to stay together? So this is all about some, you know, really great recipes that will make you feel like you've accomplished so much. And then you sit back and you realize, you know what? It was so much easier than I thought. Before we get started, I'm going to take you to my website and I'm going to show you where you can find the recipes. So why don't I do that? We're going to share that. And if at any time you have questions during the class, please don't hesitate to put your questions in the chat. And the ladies are going to interrupt me and read them out loud so everyone can hear. So this is my website, thecreativefeast.com. You can come here anytime. I have a lot of recipes here for you. And certainly if you are an organization or know of an organization that needs a guest speaker, check out my information on that. We're going to go to my food and fun section and to the recipe blog. Now here on the recipe blog, you're going to see that I've created some pages just for AARP. Now, don't get confused. AARP 2025 are the upcoming classes. So if you want to register for those, you can go to AARP. And the cook along classes for 2025 are listed here with the first 3 months that have recipes on them. We're still in 2024, so we're going to click on that, and then we're going to go all the way down to the bottom. Now, I have now, these tabs are here from 2023 and 2024, so you can always go back and check out our recipes. But here is our low carb holiday brunch, and it's more of a high protein. There are some carbs in the pancakes, of course. We'll talk a little bit about that, but poached eggs and hollandaise, perfect for those people who are looking for a low carb way to have a breakfast, or you can even put them over salad. I might do that with some of my eggs today, but those recipes are here for you. And then you are welcome to look through, you know, a lot of us with the new year are going to be starting to try to change our eating habits a little bit. Well, I've got some things here for you to consider. I'm an intermittent faster. I've been doing it for years. And I actually have a Facebook group about intermittent fasting. And if you have any questions, you're always welcome to email me, contact me. But there's all this information to get you started. Of course, everything requires that you do talk to your doctor about it, but you should read up on it first and say, hey, is that something that's for me? I have found that it's been a great way for me to lose weight and maintain my weight now for over 8 years. And then you'll see for low carb, we've talked a lot about that. This is one of my favorite lifestyles. It's a lot easier than people think. It's just a question of knowing what to avoid and how you can make substitutions. So check that out. And then, of course, you can always check out my favorite kitchen tools, my chickens, my gardens, and my kitchen remodel that took place quite a while ago, but that's the studio that I'm in. So lots for you to see there, okay? And then we'll go, I think right now what I'd like to do, I'm just gonna pull up these recipes for myself because I don't memorize all of my recipes, but I have them here. One thing I wanted to share with you, I was telling the ladies earlier, is that I got a nice surprise. I am featured in New Hampshire Magazine. And what I thought was going to be an article about me and several other chefs turned out to be just about me. So that was a really exciting treat for me. But in here are soup recipes, and actually these recipes are on my website. So you can check them out, and you can go to the New Hampshire Magazine website. They haven't posted them yet. I'm sure they wait until the following months, but that is a fun article. So I just thought I would share it with you. Some great news to share. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do our pancakes first so that they are kind of out of the way. And then we'll do our poached eggs and our hollandaise. They take a little bit more attention, but you also want to make them closer to the time you're going to serve them. Although I will tell you how you can poach your eggs hours in advance of serving them for brunch. And the same with your hollandaise, and how you can serve them still, you know, backward, you know, once more where they are, the yolks are nice and runny, they're warm. How can you do that? I'm going to give you that reveal. So again, it's taking the intimidation out of the whole process. Okay, so these pancakes are super easy to make. It's, you know, they're like any pancake, except that the ingredients we are using are going to have a higher protein content, and they're easy to make in any size. And I would recommend, if you decide that you're going to use these for brunch, make them in advance. You could make them weeks in advance and then put them in the freezer wrapped well. And then when you go to use them, bring them out and you're all set to go. If you want to make your own English muffins, if you remember last month, we did English muffins. Was it last month? We did stovetop breads. So we have an English muffin there, recipe that you can use and make your own English muffins. Make them in advance, freeze them cooked, and you're all set to go. So advanced preparation is always the best, in my opinion. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to get a bowl. And of course, ladies, if there are any questions from the audience, don't hesitate to let me know. Let me just get a fork here. And so simple ingredients, we've got our dry ingredients. This is how I always like to do it. I like to keep them separate, dry and wet for any kind of baking. Of course, read your recipe first. Sometimes chefs throw in little twists and turns, so you want to make sure you get it right. So we're going to do a half a cup of all-purpose flour. Now, if you're somebody that you want to go gluten-free and you want to use a coconut flour or an almond flour, you can substitute this. The texture will be different. And it might not rise as much because, of course, there are different protein levels in these flours. But we're only using half a cup, and we're also not eating a whole plate of pancakes. That's where we get into trouble. If you're going to sit down and have several pancakes, remember it's like eating a muffin, like eating cake, and if you start your breakfast that way, it's going to raise your blood sugar pretty high. And then you're going to have where it drops, and then you're going to get a little bit tired. You might even feel hungry again. So I always recommend, if you're going to have pancakes, cut down on the number of pancakes you have, but have them with like scrambled eggs or fried eggs, because you've got that wonderful protein and that wonderful fat that will help to keep your blood sugar, to keep it from spiking, right? Just cut down on those carbs. And then, of course, in this recipe, we do have a teaspoon of baking powder and a little bit of salt. And about a quarter teaspoon of salt. Okay, and I just want to check to make sure. Okay. And then we're just going to give that a little bit of a stir, because you want to make sure that your baking powder and your salt are evenly distributed in your flour. Perfect. Then we want to use, we want 2 large eggs. Okay. Now, eggs are really good for us, right? They've got all the good things that we need. We have a good amount of natural fats, which is great. And then, of course, we have a lot of protein in those egg whites. People are very concerned about cholesterol. Again, I always say, talk to your doctor about this. But the fact is that we do need cholesterol. Our brain needs the fat. Our brain needs the cholesterol. So everything in a good amount is going to help you stay good and healthy and alert. I had the good fortune of doing an event for AARP here in New Hampshire for their caregivers, of people who were needed a little bit more time or a little more help in their daily lives. So their caregivers came and they brought the person they were caring for, and we did a whole event on low carb eating. And I'll tell you, everybody loved the food. And the lesson really is that we want to fuel ourselves on good, healthy proteins and fats, and just cut down on those number of carbohydrates, and then we'll be more alert. We have, you'll feel like, you're not retaining as much water. So the carbohydrates is something that we have to be very aware of, because our diets have become filled with carbohydrates. And, that's anything made with flour, sugar, all of those things. You want to be very, very aware of what it is that you're eating, and how much. All right, now we have a cup of Greek yogurt. So you've seen this Greek yogurt in the grocery store. First of all, when I buy yogurt, I always buy full fat yogurt, okay? We don't need to reduce that fat. The fat is very satiating. You'll find when you eat foods that are full of fat, you actually are satisfied sooner. Your belly feels more full quicker. And again, when you're digesting your food, you don't have that super high drive of energy and then a crash, because the fat fueling our bodies is going to keep us nice and steady. Now, Greek yogurt is a higher concentration of protein, because they've taken a yogurt, essentially a regular yogurt, and they strain out the whey, which is that liquid. So you're going from a very wet, creamy yogurt to a drier, richer yogurt in the Greek yogurt. And you'll notice when you read the package and you see, how many, how much protein is in there, the Greek yogurt is almost double because you are removing the water from it, which concentrates the amount of protein. And that's why Greek yogurt is more expensive, right? Because they've reduced that whey, that water that's in there. So here we have 6 grams of protein in a regular yogurt, and then you're going to have upwards of 12 and 14 grams of protein when you get up to a Greek yogurt. Now, I didn't have Greek yogurt at home. I had plain yogurt, plain whole fat, whole milk yogurt. So what did I do? I took a strainer with cheesecloth in it, and I dumped my yogurt into that strainer and left it over a bowl for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Boy, about, I would say close to a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of liquid of that whey came out of my yogurt. And what did it do? It made this yogurt that's remaining nice and thick and creamy, and of course increased the amount of protein. So it, almost doubled it, right? So that's why you can make it yourself at home. It's so easy. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but you can take your regular yogurt, strain it, and then you have that nice creamy Greek yogurt alternative. Okay, so we're going to use about a cup. Yeah.
Do you know an alternative for Greek yogurt if you can't consume dairy?
There are goat yogurts that you can check out. Goat's milk tends to be easier for people to digest. So that is an alternative to it. You could use, you could try, actually, this might work out really nicely, is a can of full fat coconut milk, not coconut milk from a container, like a milk container that you get in the dairy section, because that is a watered down version of coconut milk, and it often has in it sugars. So you want plain full fat can of coconut milk. And you really want to stir it up because the fat will rise to the top and then you'll have all this liquid. You really want to stir it up so it's all completely together. And you can make these pancakes. You're just you may have to add a little bit more flour to it to get them to be that batter consistency. But you could give that a try. And it won't necessarily taste strong of coconut. So, that is one option for you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this in with my eggs. Were there any other questions, Francis?
They wanted to know what brand of yogurt Greek yogurt you had used.
Yeah, I typically use the Stonyfield because it's organic. But Fage makes it, that wonderful Greek yogurt, Fage is another one. So you can use that. Any brand of Greek yogurt is going to be fine. You just want to make sure that it is plain and not flavored. Don't get the vanilla. I know you want to, but you see, we're not adding sugar to this. We don't need the sugar. Even if you were going to have these pancakes and serve them with maple syrup, why do you need added sugar? You don't. You have the maple syrup that you can be using. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that is my egg and my Greek yogurt. And now we're going to mix this in with our flour. All in there. We don't want anything to go to waste. And this is with the flour, the baking powder, and just a little bit of salt. Salt always helps to balance the flavor and bring out flavors. Now, here's a little thing that I'm going to do because I am serving these as a savory pancake, right? Because I'm going to serve this with my poached eggs. So I am going to go ahead and we just want to mix this till it's evenly blended. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. You can add herbs to this. If you want to do fresh chopped herbs, go right ahead and do that. I have an herb salt, and I made this at the end of the summer when I was collecting all of my herbs. If you go to my website, you will see a recipe for herb salt. It will last in my refrigerator for up to a year. And when you smell it, oh my goodness, it smells like I just picked these herbs because it's essentially preserving the herbs. The salt will preserve the herbs and make them fresh tasting. So I'm going to use this, you know, all winter long in my soups, and it's going to give it a really wonderful flavor. So I am flavoring up my savory pancakes. So that is wonderful. Okay. So we've got that. Now we're going to go over to the stove, and I'm going to heat up my griddle here. This is one of my favorite tools in the kitchen. On one side, it has, oh, this one's going to give me a hard time. There we go. On one side, it is a grill so that I can grill chicken and what have you here in the kitchen. On the other side is the griddle. And so that's what I'm using today. And I'm just going to grab a little bit of butter. Now, let's talk about your tools to make the perfect size little pancakes. Getting an assortment of different size scoops is a really great idea. They're not just for ice cream. And in fact, I don't know that I ever really use a scoop for ice cream unless I'm going to serve it up and I want it to look just so. But I have scoops. Let me actually just grab a couple for you and you can see how many different sizes and shapes. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how many I have. Okay, this is okay. It's a passion, not an obsession, right? Okay. Let me move this out of the way so you can see. So here is more of a half cup. This is more of a quarter cup. And then we go down. These are two of the same size. And somewhere in my collection, I even, oh, here we go. This is a little bit smaller. And I even have a smaller one for truffles. But this allows me, whenever I'm going to scoop something like cookies of any kind of batter, they're always the same size. So when I make muffins, I don't pour my batter into a muffin tin. I scoop it in. So they're all the same size. Now, this one is a lot of fun because it's almost like an egg shape. This is great for ice cream. So it makes it, you know, really fun to serve. But we are going to use this size here because this one will be just too big and it'll be too much bread or too much pancake underneath my poached eggs. So we're going to use this. All right. Now I can see over here that my butter has melted and oh, it's gone off to the side. Always like to have one of these little brushes. So there must be a lean in my stove because the butter just shot to the back. I should probably turn this around and then it won't do that, but that's okay. So now I've got my butter on there. Want to make sure that, you know, you've got a good temperature going. All right. And probably a medium high flame, and then you can lower it as time goes on. But let's go ahead and get these on there. You do want to make sure they're hot. You want to make sure that your butter has melted. And if you want, you can give these a little bit of a press to make them a little bit larger. Now I'm going to use these. We're going to have a big family gathering for Christmas. And I'm going to make these with my tiny scoop. And then those I'm going to use as little, instead of crackers or something, like I said, I'm going to put some sour cream on them, a little bit of smoked salmon, some dill, and a little chopped up onion and probably some capers. Oh, I just made this up as I'm talking to you. So you can see then that's a little hors d'oeuvre. I can make these all tonight if I wanted to. Freeze them, and when they're ready to come out, just let them thaw. And they're served at room temperature. So it's a super easy little hors d'oeuvre carrier canapé or something like that. Okay. And then we're just going to let those brown. And in the meantime, while that's happening, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, and I am going to heat up my water for my poached eggs. So in here, I have probably about 2 to 4 inches of water, and that's just going to come to a boil, and then I'll just go back and deal with that. Why don't we go ahead and we'll start separating our eggs. And again, if anybody has any questions throughout the program, don't hesitate to let me know.
Okay, we do have some questions.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, so they would like to know what kind of strainer you used when you strained off the whey to thicken the yogurt. And in conjunction with that, the way that you strain off, is there anything else that you can do with it? Can you use it any other way rather than just throwing it away?
Was that a pun, Francis? Using that way? What other way?
Yeah, what
Instead of
other
throwing
way?
it away?
You got it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's a rhyme. All right, let me go grab, I'm gonna grab my strainer so I can just show it to you. At least I'm not taking you upstairs into my closet like I did for one class. Okay, so I'm just using a strainer like this. Here's another obsession of mine. I have several strainers. You'll notice when you buy strainers, they have smaller and smaller mesh. This is a layered mesh, so it actually makes it, because it's 2 layers of it, it makes it, a really good strainer for fine foods. But you do want to line it with cheesecloth, and I buy my cheesecloth right at the grocery store. At our grocery store, that's all hanging above, you've got all these places where they have gadgets and stuff like that. I always make sure when I buy one thing of cheesecloth, I actually buy 2. I hate to not have it. But if you didn't have it, you could use a really good cotton dishcloth if you wanted to, a thin one. I have these that are, wonder if I have any here. Oh, yes. I buy them at Walmart. They're actually, they sell them as diapers, but there's no diapery business to them. But they're like a flour cloth, right? Flour sack cloth. Maybe that's what they're called. Yeah, that's what they're called. So I get a bunch of these. I love, again, I'm obsessed with strainers, flour sacks, and now scoops. So all these things. But that's how I would do it. Now, and I'm going to turn these little pancakes off. Okay, so then the other question is, what can you do with the whey? I'm so glad you asked. Don't throw that away that way. So what you want to do is, I have mine saved from when I did this. I'm making soup tonight. That's going to go right into my soup. Okay. You can use that if you're going to anything that you would have a liquid for, a soup, a stock, a sauce. Here's a good one that I'm going to try. I make sourdough bread, but I need water when I add it. I wonder what it would be like to add that whey. Would that change it? Because it will have protein in it. So that's something I'm going to look into. But, you could drink it, right? You could add a little bit of flavoring to it and you could drink it. There's no reason to throw it away. I have in the past, here's something I did because I've made this recipe a couple times. What did I do with here it is. So I had a bunch left, and my chickens, it's wintertime here, and my chickens do need energy. So they're going to eat the carbohydrates. So I mixed oatmeal with the whey and let it soak up. And now this is going to go out to them this afternoon. So anyway, those are some ways to use up your whey.
Right.
Okay.
And we also wanted to know about your herb salt. What did you have in it? And somebody also asked about, kind of going a little forward, what do you think about individual egg poachers instead of putting them loose in the water?
Okay. So what was the first question again? I'm going to go back to the beginning.
They wanted to know for the herb salt that you used in your
Mm,
pancakes,
yep.
what was in that?
Okay, let's just take a minute. I'm going to share with you um, the website. And there we go. And let's look here. Herb salt. Okay, so we have our nice, the herb salé, salted herbs, herb salts. Okay, so this is a Canadian recipe that I adapted. So here's the recipe for you to make your own. Now you can substitute any of these herbs that you want. I happen to have lovage, Lovage, which is an herb that I love to use. It tastes a lot like, it's a cross between basil and celery. So it's a really wonderful herb. So that's what I'm using. And then you can mix other herbs. You know, the celery leaves, don't leave those, don't throw those away. Those are herbs, and those are herbs that you should be using to flavor your food. So simple things like that. But once you have the salt, it's just amazing. You'll never go without it again. And like I said, it stays in your refrigerator for about a year, and it just tastes as fresh as it was on the day that you did it. So I did parsley with the lovage, and I think that was it. Oh, and some celery leaves, because I had those along with the salt. Okay. All right. Now, what did we just do? Okay, so we've got our pancakes. They're all set to the side. My water is heating up, so that's good. We're going to come back to that. I'm going to prepare my eggs now for the poaching, and I will also prepare them for our hollandaise, okay? So for the poaching, now your question about an egg poacher, which is better, because that's an individual thing. I will tell you the best thing is the thing that you are most comfortable with. If you like to use an egg poacher, you should use it. I'm just going to show you a way that you can do this. It's the way that a restaurant would do it. When I worked in a restaurant, we did breakfast. This was many, many years ago. And if you're serving 200 orders of poached eggs, those chefs are not standing at the commercial range with pans of water all around them. They have already made those poached eggs, and they probably made them hours before. They're just keeping them at a temperature where they stop cooking. And that's what I'm going to show you. I'm also going to show you the trick to keeping, those individual egg poachers. I would imagine they make that perfect egg that comes together, and it's just lovely. You've seen pictures of these, or you've maybe been served this on some kind of a Asian noodle dish of some sort, pho. It's just so lovely. How can I make that myself? So that's what I'm teaching you how to do today. Now, I do have, as you can see, I have a pan here that is, got boiling water, steaming water, and it's just water in it right now. Now, here's the key to making sure that your egg pulls itself together. It needs an acid in the water. You could use lemon juice if you have it, but you can also use just plain white distilled vinegar, or in my case, I made my own apple cider vinegar, which is a little bit, I'm just grabbing my recipe again, is mild. So, I'm just going to use that. And you're going to use, I've got about 4 to 6 cups of water in there. So I'm going to use about a tablespoon of vinegar. And you can see I'm just going to put it right into the water. And that acid is going to help keep my my egg whites around the egg. And then we're going to do a little bit of manipulation with that also. The other key to success is we're going to crack our eggs. Notice I cracked them on the table, not on the rim. If you crack on the rim, chances are you're going to push a piece of the egg shell into the egg when it breaks. So it's much easier to do it, much cleaner to do it on the countertop. Now you can use a coffee cup, as I say in the recipe, or in this case, these are just little glasses, and I'm keeping them separate. And this is how I'm going to drop them in. We're actually going to drop them in over the water very low so that they don't splash and then, break apart. So we're going to be very controlled in the dropping, okay? So actually, why don't we go ahead and do that? And then I'll come back and I'll get my eggs ready for our hollandaise sauce, which is something that we're gonna do that. Again, it's all about getting rid of, breaking the mystery, giving you the answers on how you can make a hollandaise sauce that won't break. All right, so I'm gonna take these over to the stove and I'm going to bring my water back up to a simmer. My stove is going to be very unhelpful here. There we go. So we're bringing that back up to a simmer. So it should just take a minute or so. Now you'll notice here too on the stove is I have melted butter here. This is for our hollandaise. And so I'm going to bring that back up to a little bit of a simmer before we add this to our hollandaise sauce to bring it all together. But I just wanted to show you that I've already pre-melted my butter for the hollandaise sauce. So if you are cooking along with me, you want to do that. Now, notice, I've already been working on getting my water boiling. So these are little hints that you can use if you're making a meal for a group of people and they're all waiting. You don't start everything when they arrive. You have already got things going. So, for example, if you're going to make a big pot of pasta for a whole group of people, pre-boil your water, get it hot, cover it, and then it'll only take a fraction of the time to bring it back up to temperature when you're ready to drop your pasta. Or better yet, cook your pasta in advance, have a pot of boiling water, salted water, take your cold or room temperature pasta, dump it into the water, and then immediately dump it into a strainer in your sink, and you've heated up your pasta. It's these little hints that help out. Okay, here we go. Now, we've got our water, and it's just barely simmering, okay? And that's where I want to keep it. You do not want a rolling boil. A rolling boil is going to break apart your egg whites, and we don't want that to happen. So you just want barely simmering. You can see this water is just barely moving. All right, and then we also want a slotted spoon, okay? And then here I have a plate with some paper towels on it. And then I'm going to do, I've got a baby just gazing at me. I'm going to fill a bowl with room temperature water. Now, this is how we're going to keep our eggs. Let's get this to room temperature. How we're going to keep our eggs ready for serving. Okay, so just about room temperature or a little bit below. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. Get that up there. Perfect. Okay, and so I'm just going to set that over here so you can see that. Okay, and our water is going. And then we're going to go ahead and very slowly take this right to the surface of the water. Remember, we have our vinegar in the water. And drop this in. Whoop, just like that. Okay. And then you can move this over just a little bit. There we go. Now that's spreading out a little bit more than I want. So I'm wondering if maybe I should add just a little bit more vinegar to that. Just to make sure I've got enough. Get my spoon off the floor. And then in goes my next second egg right in, everything right together. Okay. Now we're going to set our timer for 4 minutes. Remember, barely simmering water. Okay. And let that sit. Now, while that's sitting, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get our eggs ready for our hollandaise. I'm going to make it in this, I think, okay, yeah, that should be fine. I need a bigger container. Okay, so here we are doing egg yolks. We're going to do 4 egg yolks for our hollandaise. Just grab that. Okay, again, break it on your table or countertop, and then back and forth. We're just looking for our yolks. Those egg whites are going to be perfect for if you have a meringue to make, they'll come in really handy. Or I'm going to use mine to make a high protein omelet, so it'll have more egg whites than egg yolks. So maybe it'll have 2 whole eggs and the rest of these egg whites, and that will make a delicious omelet, but it's going to be a very high protein omelet. And that will keep me full and satisfied for quite some time. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so we have our whites that we're going to stick to the side. Now, the rest of the ingredients is we have egg yolks, and then we're going to have some lemon. I have a lemon here that I used a little bit of zest for another recipe. Let me just pop this over to the side. And so I've got a great lemon juicer here, and I'm going to juice my lemon. And we're going to use about, what are we using here? For our lemon juice, about a tablespoon and a tablespoon of water. Now I go ahead and do the whole lemon, and then I'll have seltzer with lemon water, lemon juice today as a nice refreshing drink with a little tea if you want. Because I know if I don't do it, I put it in the refrigerator and I'll never use it. I always forget it's there. Okay, so there we have our lemon juice. Now I'm going to lower, see, something happened. My water raised up, so I got a little bit of foam here because I was not paying attention, and the temperature of my water got really hot. Now, when I take that away though, you see those eggs are still very pretty. So watch that temperature. I'm gonna pull these eggs out now. Okay, so what we do is if you are using these eggs right away, you want to take your plate and just tamp them off, and then they will go on to your pancakes. However, we are going to keep them from continuing to cook, and we're going to serve them later. So I'm going to go ahead and drop them into my room temperature or cool water. And those are now just sitting and waiting for when I'm ready to use them. You could do this and put these into the refrigerator if you want, and then rewarm them in warm water, okay, for 30 seconds or so, and that will warm them up for when you want to use them. All right, now we have a tablespoon of lemon juice. Oops. We were almost done. And then a tablespoon of water. Okay, and then the other seasoning we're going to use is a little bit of cayenne pepper, and then we have salt and pepper that we're going to add to that. All right, so let's go ahead and we will get our hollandaise going. I'm going to back to the stove. Remember I told you I had melted my butter. Now I'm going to heat it up. So the hot butter is going to be, we're going to mix our egg yolks. And we're going to I'm trying this wonderful, well, it may be too small. I'm a little nervous about that being too small. I just thought this would be fun to make this in, but not for the first time. Okay, so we have our egg yolks, 4 egg yolks. And we're going to use our immersion blender. Now behind me is my regular blender. You certainly could make it in your regular blender. And let me just show you a little thing about that blender. Every blender has the lid with the top that pops off, okay? This kind of recipe is what this is for, why you would take this off. So you can leave the lid on, run your blender, and then pour your olive oil, or in this case, our hot butter, through that hole very slowly into our egg yolk mixture. And that will help it to blend and to emulsify. So just remember, that's why you would take that button off. The other reason you would take that button off is if you are blending hot liquid, never leave the button intact, because you'll build up the heat in there and it will actually become almost like a rocket, and it will shoot your lid off and you'll get everything all over and you can burn yourself seriously. So if you're going to be blending in your blender hot soup or something like that, always take this button off, okay? And now our butter is nice and hot. Let me just get a little bit more heat under there. Okay, so that was just one thing. And I'm not using my Vitamix because this is almost, sometimes it's just too big. I know there's a smaller jar that you can use, so I'm looking into getting that so I can do these a little bit easier. All right, so now we have our egg yolks, and we're going to go ahead and mix our egg yolks, our lemon juice, and our cayenne along with the water. Okay, and we're going to add that in, and a little bit of cayenne. This cayenne is just however much you like a little zip. Okay, and then we're going to, with our immersion blender, we're going to blend this for about 10 seconds, and that will bring the egg yolks together, mix them with the water and our lemon juice so that everything is pre-blended evenly. Okay, and then we have our butter. Francis, did we have any questions before I get into the butter part?
We had a couple. So one, Catherine says she has a problem. She's worried about the eggs not being cooked enough in the hollandaise sauce. So is there a temperature that she should check for to make sure that they are cooked?
That I don't know. But the often I think in some places they will buy pasteurized egg yolks you can get, if that's a concern of yours. I've never had an issue with the egg yolks. Let me put it to you this way. Would you eat a poached egg? If you're going to eat a poached egg, those egg yolks, they're not cooked all the way through, right? So remember this, we're putting hot butter in there. So it's reached the boiling point, which is about 212, right? So that is going to cook these as it emulsifies. So I guess the question is to just think about, hollandaise put on poached eggs, you're putting hollandaise that may be cooked to the temperature you're looking for, but you're putting them on a poached egg that has a raw yolk. So just something to think about. What other questions did you have?
Also, how long can you keep the poached eggs, and can you use ghee instead of butter?
You can always use ghee. That's a lovely, oh no, I'm sorry. In the hollandaise, can you use ghee? No.
Okay.
Glad I caught myself. Ghee is basically a clarified butter, and that takes out the solids, and it actually removes the flavoring. So ghee does not have the flavor of butter. It's going to be a little bit different. Could you try it? Of course, you can try anything you like. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it. And what other question?
Two more. Can you use vegan butter, and how long can you keep those poached eggs like in the water like you did?
I have no experience myself with vegan butter because I'm not a vegan. But if you're going to use vegan butter, how can you use eggs if you're vegan? So we're talking about a whole different recipe. And then the last question, how long can you keep the poached eggs? You can keep them, I don't know, you could keep them, I would say for at least 6 hours, but you could keep them longer as long as they're refrigerated and they're floating in this water. They should be just fine. But you can always test it out, right? So it all depends. Will they go bad in 24 hours? No, I don't believe so, especially if you've got them in water and then you refrigerated them. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get this started. I'm very slowly adding my butter, very slowly to emulsify, but also to very slowly introduce the hot butter to the egg yolks, because if you do it too fast, you will overcook the egg yolks, right? And we don't want that to happen. And that goes nice and slow. I'm actually drizzling it down on the side of the immersion blender, and it's just doing such a beautiful job. Once you have this under your belt, you're going to be serving hollandaise on everything. It would be fantastic on cooked roasted potatoes, on vegetables, asparagus, steamed vegetables, steamed broccoli. It'd be just delicious on. You can actually, it's almost kind of like a béarnaise in a way. So if you had some of this, you could serve it on a beautiful steak. That would be delicious. And you can flavor your hollandaise too. If you wanted to add herbs to this, you could do that as well. But you see now it's getting to be that thick mayonnaise hollandaise texture. And that's it. You now have the secret to impress everybody you know that you made your own hollandaise. Don't ever buy a packaged hollandaise that you add water or butter to. You want to make this all yourself with ingredients that you're familiar with, that you've put together. And we're almost done here. One of the reasons that we're also mending is because you want the fat of the egg yolk with the butter to come together, to emulsify. If you go too fast, they won't emulsify and it'll be too loose. But this is a wonderful, even pouring consistency. This is lovely and smooth. Now we haven't added our salt and pepper yet, so we're going to do that. Pop this over here to the sink. We're going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. You should always taste to see, is that how much you want? Oh, this is beautiful, beautiful. Perfect amount.
Speaking of salt, they wanted to know if your butter is salted or unsalted, and if you used a silicone measuring cup for the hot butter.
So here's my flaw in my kitchen right now. I do not have a glass measuring cup. So that's on my Christmas list. I would recommend that if you're taking a hot liquid that you put it into glass. In fact, I'm going to be, I'm cautious about using plastic. I've gotten rid of it most everywhere with the exception of those silicone containers. So that's something that I'm working on to replace. Was that one question or two questions?
That was two. I mean, the recipe says unsalted. They just want to know if your butter was salted or unsalted.
You know what? I did use salted butter because that's what I had in the refrigerator. So I just used less salt in the recipe. Okay, so now we're taking our eggs out. And hopefully I've cooked them perfectly. And we're going to do two different things here, just to show variety. So we have our lovely little pancake. You can make them bigger. You don't have to do everything the way I do it. It's what I prefer. So I think I'm going to do 3 little ones. Lovely. We're going to put our poached egg right on there. Okay. And then I'm going to get a little, oh, I love having little tiny ladles for this kind of stuff. We're going to go ahead and take our hollandaise, pour that right on top. I dare you, once you make this, not to stick a spoon in there and just take a spoonful of hollandaise. Okay, so there's that. And then this is going to be my lunch. And I'm going to take my second poached egg, put that right on my salad with a little bit of hollandaise. Wonderful. And then I have a little bit, I always keep a vinaigrette on hand. I need to make more. I usually fill this, but it's time to have some more. And then I'm just going to drizzle that on my salad and serve that. So here we are, an hour after we started, but we have learned some really valuable lessons and made our hollandaise sauce. Show you a couple ways to serve your poached eggs. Now, let's see if I succeeded. This is the part I hate about live demonstrations, making sure that I got it just right. So let's see. Oh, there we are. So there is my beautifully poached egg with my yolk. Now you could do this for 3 minutes. We did it for 4. And let's see how we did with this one. And remember too, my, look at that. Yay. Remember I let my water boil just a little bit too heavily, and that can cause an issue for you. So let us zoom in a little bit on those 2 delicious dishes for you. And we're all set with our class. Do we have any other questions
We
before?
actually do have a couple more questions.
Oh, good. Okay.
Someone said, can you use the herb salt that you were talking about earlier? Can you use that in your hollandaise sauce? Would it be okay?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
No, I
No,
mean,
I didn't. I didn't. Yes, you
when
can.
you added the salt at the end.
Yes. Instead of salt, use your herb salt. But just remember, herb salt it is salty. So just make sure you take that into account. So, in that case, if I were herb salt, I would do unsalted butter and use that as the salt. But that's not to say, like, you could just chop up fresh herbs and put them in there, and that would be fine too. Okay.
And one more question. So it's not really quite right, but a poached egg is not fully cooked. Is there any way you can make an egg that is fully cooked that's for people who don't like eggs like that?
I mean, you could certainly make a beautiful omelet. Oh, that would be fabulous. An omelet with hollandaise would be very nice. So you could do that. You could, if people don't like eggs, you could just serve sausages and bacon on top of this with hollandaise on top of that. I mean, there are no rules, right? You have a beautiful sauce here that will lend itself to so many different foods. Any other questions?
Nope. So let me give my last spiel if you're ready. Are you?
Well, almost. I wanted to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. This year is a very special year because Christmas and the first day of Hanukkah fall on December 25th. So wish everybody a happy Hanukkah and everybody happy holidays. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday spent with those that you love. Thank you for joining me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in 2025.
All right. So thank you, Liz, for today's lesson and cook-along demonstration. I can't wait to try them. Today's cook-along demonstration is one of the many upcoming virtual events provided by AARP New Hampshire. And visit us at www.aarp.org/nh to learn of other virtual events, which include gentle yoga, painting classes, and other educational webinars. If you're interested in volunteering for the AARP New Hampshire community team, contact us at New Hampshire AARP@aarp.org. And our next cook-along class with Liz she will show us how to make chicken stock in a warm and comforting soup. So join us on Tuesday, January 21st at 2 p.m. for this fun cook-along demonstration. And you can register again at aarp.org/nh. So Liz, thank you for this wonderful demonstration, and we hope you and everyone else has a very happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and enjoy your family. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep.